And we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to another high vibe conversation. I'm your host, Shel Shapiro. With me today are the lovely Dorit Carlson, Stina Marie, and Linda Vetrus Nichols. Jenny Langren will be here momentarily to join us as well. And today we are talking about, is your trauma your mama? Ooh, just makes me laugh and giggle a little bit every single time I say that, but it's nonetheless important. So, Dorit, I'm gonna kick us off today with you. What's coming up for you when we talk about is your trauma your mama?
Whew. Well, the first thing that came up was when I got to the age where I started having my own kids, I caught myself sounding like my own mother. I said things that I didn't even realize that I said before I heard them, if you know what I mean. I didn't think about saying them. They just came out in a situation. It was like, oh, my mom used to say that, you know? So obviously I've had some recordings in there from her saying stuff and just copied them. And now I have my own kids. The youngest one is 23. That is saying the same things. One came home the other day and said, I was at the shop and someone asked me so and so and I said this and I just sounded like you, Mom. Oh no, what's happening? So mothers have a great impact on kids, that's for sure, and all the way from like the third trimester before even giving birth, the child is getting used to the sound of the voice and the heartbeat and everything. So we are affecting our kids even before we meet them. So I don't know. I'm a bit distracted, to be honest, because I have my grandson here. He's 4.5 years and he is very creative right now. It's his bedtime. So I'll kick it back to you, Shel.
Well, thank you, Dorit. I could very much like, hi, I could very much like relate to what you were sharing about just noticing when you something unconsciously that like you used to hear your mom or your parents say to you as a kid. As an aunt of three, officially an aunt of three, and I have many more. I'm an auntie to several others. I'm noticing more and more when like my siblings, my brother and sister, parent their kids, and I can see when my brother does something that's very similar to like the way that my mom raised us, or even my dad, but like more it comes out when I see my stuff that my mom taught us as a kid, and I'm like, oh, that's where he got that from. And I see similarities now with my sister being a mother as well, when she is parenting, and even though she is very new to it, there's just things that are coming like innately and instinctively to her, that she's like parenting her daughter like, oh, yep, that was mommy. That's how she did it. And whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, it just is. And now as parents, they have the opportunity to say, oh, I actually don't like myself when I do that, and change it. Or yeah, I like where this is going, and I could see myself doing more of this. And that's on them now to decide as parents how they want to parent and take it with them. So I could really relate to what you were saying, not necessarily as a parent myself, but from observing it through my loved ones and those around me. So thank you, Dorit, for sharing with us today. And it's not distracting having your grandson in the background. If anything, it just adds to the conversation, right? Um, Jenny, welcome to High Vibe Conversations. Thank you for being here with us today. We
Thank
knew you were going to
you.
join us. I'm coming down to you. Is your trauma your mama? What's coming up for you?
I love this topic. And I keep seeing the mother and the child in her arms feeding the child as I'm coming back to this topic. And I see the mother looking into the eyes of the child and the baby looking into her eyes, trying to understand who who she is. And I think that's just the baseline for me. Did your mama look at you and say precious, like just with those eyes or the way that she treated you, and say precious, you become who you are? Or did she look at you and say, you become who I want you to be? Or you fulfill me, you fulfill my ideal of who you are, or my expectations of you? Because we are always, always looking to the people that we love and the people who are closest to us to figure ourselves out and to understand our identity and our idea of self. And yeah, there was more coming in, but that's just the image that I'm seeing, the eyes meeting and everything that it holds. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. As you were talking about, like, how did our mothers look at us? What was coming up for me was the feeling that I know and feel love from my mother. But I will use the word but, not and. There's also that moment in that I can remember feeling like I needed to perform or be a certain thing or act a certain way in order to continue getting that love. So although that sounds very conditional, I, I still did feel the love. It was there, but the way that I received it was more like, well, I'll get more love if I just do this her way. If I do this the way that she wants it to be done, if I act a certain way, if I can show up and be more outgoing. She was always challenging me to be more outgoing, and introduce myself to people, to compliment them, to strike up conversations. If I can just be who she wants me to be, I will be able to feel and receive that love more. So it's not that there was a lack of it. I definitely felt it all the time, but there was that compelling need to do more, be better, be bigger than who I was. So what was for me as I hear you talk about how we've received the love and what our mothers said to us.
Thank
Wow.
you, Shannon. And that can either teach us to absorb our surroundings and read people in order to make them feel happy, because that might keep us safe, or that might give us an assurance that we're safe. And I have these moments when I catch myself, like Dorrit was saying, and I get to really make a decision. Am I accepting my child for who they are and loving them for who they are, and encouraging them to, instead of reading me, reading themselves and look inward to explore and know who they are and build that self-confidence. So there are so many levels. It's looking into the relationship to your own mother, and it's also just acknowledging and shifting at times when you look at yourself. That's been my experience.
So I was thinking about your struggle with the people pleasing, and you can just like, wow, that really lined up. In pleasing your mom, maybe you would get more love. So that was an interesting connection.
Yeah, and I could also, if I take that a little bit further, I can also see how I've absorbed the way that she parented me in that, because I hear myself sometimes, and living back with them now, I certainly am battling that a little bit still these days. I hear myself when I speak back to them as I'm parenting them a little bit, of like, why don't you do this way? Or could you do this better? Could you do like, what was going on in your head? So I find myself battling that same premise of like, can I just, enough to just let them be who they are and acknowledge that this is what they're going to do, and then how I react and respond is on me. Like, why do I keep pushing them to change the way that they're acting? So now I can really see that the way that I'm showing up is a reflection of how I've absorbed them in my childhood. So it's an active thing that I'm working on, and I recognize it, but it's not enough for me to just say that I'm aware of it and recognize it. I have to actively be trying to not necessarily do better, but change my approach to them and just let them be. So yeah, thank you. Linda, I know that you just piggybacked and added to the conversation in explaining why that was coming up for me. And I love that so much. What else, when it comes to like, is your trauma your mama, what else is coming up for you? Because I want to hear your experiences and insights too.
Well, just read my memoir.
I have, but so many people out here haven't.
So we have In My Father's Closet, and then along came In My Mother's Kitchen. And there's a hand and a dish rag on the cover for a reason. Because I was in grade school drying the dishes. My mom would wash the dishes, I would dry, and then my brother would have his turn at drying dishes. So this was there was a thing where she would say, open your mouth and close your eyes, and I'll give you a great big surprise. And I'd do it. And then that day, she realized that that was getting to the level of abuse. Is she would be laughing at me, and like she didn't realize that was like a very like locked in pattern. And so yeah, that was just kind of a little epiphany day for her, that she had definitely taken that to a level of abuse. And there were a lot of things like that I didn't have a voice to speak up and say how it was making me feel. So
Thank you. Yes, for anybody who hasn't read either of Linda's memoirs, please go check them out, because they're so powerful and full of nuggets of like wisdom of how she has bettered herself and is more aware and teaching others to be self-aware. So yeah, definitely worth the reads. Because if you don't know, she's got like 23 books now. So there's definitely some stories that she's got to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Shal. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Stina, I'm coming around to you now. Is your trauma your mama? What's coming up for you?
I have to expect you to be like, so how are the notes going whenever you come back to me at the end? Because I'm always like, oh, these little things. And then at the end, it makes this beautiful little like package to deliver. Because so Jenny started with, or Dorit was talking about the impact of mothers. I loved that. And then Jenny took us to that moment of, the mom looking at the baby and that connection. And then I had a note about moms teaching us to say no that I wanted to touch on from Linda's story. So something that I have been thinking about this week, because I was talking to a friend who doesn't have kids, and she's kind of in that like, did I miss out on my opportunity to start a family? And like, but I wanted to be a career person. I didn't really want to do that. And she's in that kind of that ache that, is normal to have when you make one decision and the opportunity cost is another. And I was a really young mom and I didn't build my career. So that's, I'm in a different place. And I said, the thing about parenting that's kind of wild is it's the only relationship that you sign up for blind. You just say, yep, I sign up for a relationship with this whole other person, knowing absolutely nothing about them. And this person's going to be someone that I can't control, yet for 18 years, I'm going to be legally and completely responsible for. And so like that's a really intense kind of contract to sign with another human, when normally, like, if we're going to join our lives with someone for 18 years in, say, a partnership, you at least have some input in, how you choose that partner. You date, you get to know them, and you make that decision. And so with a kid, it's a completely different experience. And there's two sides of this. One side is that we are literally a part of our mother. Like, we are grown inside of our mother. We are physically a part of her. And so being a mom myself and having held my child, it's like you have that sense of connection on some level, and that this is a part of you. So you feel like you know this child in a way. And then at the same time, this is a completely new and different part of you that you don't know. So there's the mystery and the discovery and the exploring and the, all of the things that you don't know. And so it's really like being a mother is this process of getting to know parts of yourself that you haven't gotten to know, because your kids are going to trigger you. They're going to like bring up all of your stuff. They're going to push your buttons, and you get to develop the resilience in yourself as a mom and the emotional maturity and all of those skills to support your child in also having those skills. And so when Jenny was talking about, does your mom look at you and say, I'm going to butcher it now. And I'll tell you, my interpretation was like, does your mom connect with you as a part of her, or see you as your own person, right? So when we're mothered in a way that is, I'm a part of my mom and I have to satisfy my mom, it's codependent, but it's like one organism. We function as this one organism with mom, versus having a mother that directs you to connect with yourself. Because as adults, when we're recovering from or healing, our trauma, working through our trauma, however you want to say that, like the reasons we go to therapy, the reasons we have these conversations, the reasons we hire coaches, is to be a healthier, more whole, more satisfied person. And that always starts with connecting with yourself. And we go back there again and again. So when I think about mothering and parenting, it's like, how am I supporting my kids and connecting with themselves? And that will result in me getting to know them and me getting to know new parts of myself. And a big part of that distinction, I think, is, did your mother teach you to say no? Did she show you that it was safe to say no? Like, that is what brings autonomy, right? Like, saying yes to someone doesn't bring autonomy. Your no is where you established, I don't like this. I don't want this. I won't participate in this. And you get to have your own feelings and your own experiences. And so I think there are a lot of ways that my mom did teach me to say no. And it was the areas where I didn't feel like I could say no that I experienced that trauma, right? That retraction into yourself, where like, oof, now this isn't okay that I'm my own person. And that's where you get that confusion of like, am I my own person? Am I not my own person? And I think that for me, that's the power of reparenting ourselves so that we can help our kids parent themselves. Like, that's, to me, the healthiest way that I have found is I'm approaching parenting as like, I'm installing a little parent in my kid's brain. I'm aware of that. That's what happened to all of us. We have the little mother voice, that still comes up and says things to us, that judges us, that criticizes us, or that loves us, that supports us, that encourages us. And I'm really mindful of that. And I now get to see like my 10-year-old come home and say, well, my classmate wanted me to do their assignment for them. And I said, I will help you, but I will not do it for you. And I'm like, that's something that that my kiddos have heard time and time again from me. I will help you. I won't do it for you. And so it's really fun to see that. And one more little note I was thinking about how much our world is just set up for adults. We think that we live in an adult world where this is the way things are, and then kids are just kind of this afterthought to the world. Well, when you grow up, right? Instead of, it's all a part of life. It's all a part of growing up. Whether you're 10, you're still growing up. When you're 30, you're still growing up. When you're 50, you're still growing up. Like, there's not an arrival. And that helps me to have like just more compassion for my own journey and my kids' journey through all of this.
I wish I had taken notes while you were talking, because there were so many points when I was like, oop, I could say something here. I could say something here. I could say something. But my biggest takeaway, like what has stuck with me throughout your share, Stina, is recognizing that I was absolutely not taught to say no. I wasn't. And I see this time and time again as I interact with my mom on a daily basis. Not my interactions with her, but watching how she interacts with the world and continues to do things that she doesn't want to do, but feels like she has to do. She can't say no. And I was taught that. And I'm triggered by it when I see her still going through those motions and acting as if she has no choice in the matter, because I am so gung-ho, for lack of a better word, to break that pattern for myself. So it makes me hurt for her when I see that she's still in that same pattern of thinking. So yes, that it came up for me that I was not taught to say no. The other thing that I loved that you shared was when you were talking about your kiddos coming in and saying, I will help you, but I won't do it for you. And that stuck out to me because that is something that I say to my clients all the time. And it took me a long time to get to that, right? It took, because I used to be, as a recovering people pleaser and as somebody that did not have boundaries that could stay firm. I would assert my boundaries and then I'd let people still walk all over me as the people pleaser, because I didn't have that in place, that rigidity and that confidence to stand by my decisions and what was best for me. But it's taken me so much work, and it's taken me so much work to get to the point of, I'm not going to do this for you. If you want this as bad as you say you want it, you will do the work and I will support you to get that. And I think that's so beautiful that your kids have learned that so early on. And message to my younger self and to all of our younger selves, like, I wish we had that sooner. I wish our parents had taught us that sooner. And for some, they, like, you're like, as a parent, you are teaching your kids that. And to everyone out there who's been missing it, now you have it. So thank you for sharing that and for teaching us how to parent ourselves better and the next generation at the same time. I love when you bring your notes to at the end of the conversation. It like is a beautiful summary for everything that we've been talking about. And to all of you ladies for being here, and to everyone who's been watching and joining us, we love and support you. We would love to be part of the conversation with you. If you feel like joining in at any point, whether you're live or on the replay, please feel free to share your comments with us. Reach out to us separately or collectively right here on the stream. You can watch the replays on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, whichever platform you desire. So make sure to follow along and subscribe for more. And if you like the conversations that we've been having, please, please, please feel free to come back. We'll be sure to have another high vibe conversation waiting for you next week. So until that time, we will say bye for now.